Could I ask even more furry questions? Of course you can. What do your siblings think about you being furry? He has no idea because we left each other in our lives before that got brought up. That being said, I may or may not, no, I definitely did introduce him to furry porn as his main source of porn for the majority of his life. So, like, as a big brother do, when I was, like, young, the main thing I looked at was furry naughty, stuff like that, for my, like, getting off and stuff like that. And then when my little brother was all like, hey, buddy, where do you get some good shit? I'm like, here you go. And he's just like, hey, is there some girl on girl stuff? I'm like, yeah, bud, here you go. And he's like, oh, cool. Hey, older brother, here's some other porn. I'm like, oh, cool. Me and my little brother, like, this is how close me and my little brother used to be. We used to share porn back and forth and hide it from our parents.
Oh my god. That's funny.
Yeah, like I said, like me and my brother's relationship may have ended, but we had a really good relationship up until that point.
Yeah, so was it just your one brother, or?
Yeah, I only ever had one other sibling. That's all my parents wanted or could deal with. Because me and my little brother, we were pretty active little shits.
That sounds like it.
Like, okay, Linx, imagine having to deal with somebody like me. Again, like two of us.
Jake, I can barely handle one of you as it is.
Oh, I know you can barely handle me, big boy. Yo, Mystical, is the tail clipped in or detachable? Is belted in, buddy.
I walked right into that one.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Your bro walks into your room. Bro, can I borrow your porn? Well, back when I was a kid, like back when we were teenagers, we only had one like PC. We only had our house PC, and like so like you'd be like, yo, hey, Jick, where'd you stash it? I'm like, okay, it's under like the totally not homework folder, and then you go down like these five different folders, and I made like 40 different folders that you'd have to like navigate through, and it's I literally give him like a code worth of folders to find the good shit. Wolfie asked, Jick, why don't you talk to your little brother? If it's too personal, you don't have to answer. It's not too personal. So, long story short, me and my little brother were best friends growing up. Like, we were only like 2.5, 3 years apart, and we grew up in the country. So like we were always together, always doing stuff together, and like we're highly athletic. He would beat me with hockey sticks. I would like squirt him with lemon squirts in his nose. Like we were the little shits, okay? We were little terrors, okay? But we were together, stuff like that. TLDR, as we grew up, stuff like that, and as like I got into high school, he got into high school, we started hanging out with different crowds. I was hanging out with like the geeky crowd, the intelligent crowd, the law crowd, stuff like that. He was starting to hang out with like the stoners, the cool crowd, the ones that like the jocks, stuff like that. And we went to like two different directions. We were both athletic, but I was like athletic intelligent, and he was like athletic jock. Okay, he idolized my father. I sought to get better than my father. Okay, my father was a very successful man. He was blind, but he made his own multi-million-dollar business. It was the head mechanic of it, stuff like that. Like, my father is an inspiration both to myself and my little brother. But my little brother wanted to follow in his footsteps, where I wanted to become my own thing. Okay, so my father always talked highly of the drugs he did back in the day. Like, he used to smoke weed, stuff like that. As long as it wasn't hard drugs. He was from the 70s, right? So he spoke positively of that. So my little brother went down that route and started like trying out drugs and all that kind of stuff, where I saw my dad smoking all the time, and even at a very, very young age, I would ask him, hey, can you stop? Like, please, can you stop? And he wouldn't stop because like he's addicted and all that kind of stuff like that. But like, we kind of went two different ways, where like my little brother would like follow my dad and his, what I would say, mistakes, and I would move away from them. Okay. When my father got really, really sick, stuff like that, my little brother took care of him a lot. Like, I was off in mines, I was off far away, I couldn't take care of him super easily. My little brother put in so much time, so much work taking care of him. And my dad, when he was really sick, he got himself a puppy to try to take his mind away from it. And this puppy, his name was Tucker. Okay, and Tucker will become very, very important to the story as we go on. Okay, this dog is a Newfoundlander mixed with a Mastiff. As a puppy, he's small and cute, but this dog is going to become massive. Okay, like this dog is going to become like a 300-pound dog. Okay, so my dog passes away, which means that there's only Tucker left, okay? I only come into the picture maybe, I'd say for 2 weeks out of every month at max, stuff like that. And otherwise, I'm off at university, I'm off doing this stuff like that. I would come back in, I would deal with the situation when I was there. But my little brother was in that situation every day, okay? And all the stresses that are going along with it, okay? So when my dad was eventually admitted to going to the hospital, which he was the kind of guy that's like, I am never going to go to the hospital because that's where people go to die kind of thing. I'd rather eat pig starter than take any treatment for my cancer kind of guy, right? Well, because he didn't take any treatment for it, he eventually had to go to the hospital because he was basically dying, right? They had to put IVs and stuff like that. So when that happened, the roles got reversed, okay? My little brother was then in a situation where he was constantly at work and constantly doing stuff with his life, and I took on the role of taking care of my dad at the hospital like 24/7, okay? So it kind of like switched the roles, and eventually my dad passed away in front of me, stuff like that. My mom was sleeping, stuff like that. My dad had gone to sleep, but eventually he just like stopped breathing. So I left the room, and when I left the room, a nurse that I got to see like every single day for like the last like 2.5 months greeted me in the hall. I'm like, oh, hi, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm doing good. And I walk her to her station, and then eventually we get to her station, and she's like, okay, so what can I help you with? And I'm like, hey, okay, so I haven't woken up my mom yet, but could you call like a hearse or the coroner or something like that, because my dad just died. And she's like, oh. And I'm in the mode where I'm just getting things done. I'm like dealing with the stuff like that. I will go into situations where I'll deal with something, and then I'll deal with the emotions of it later. Okay? So that situation comes. After I deal with that, I go back and I wake my mom up, and I tell her, like, I was like, hey, you gotta come in here. You gotta deal with this kind of thing, right? So she comes in there, and she's like super distraught, which I'm taking care of her. I call up my little brother and tell him about it. He's super distraught. Both of them are emotional wrecks. And because both of them are emotional wrecks, I go into a defensive mode where I can't be an emotional wreck. I have to support these two in this moment. So I kind of like lock down of like my emotions a little bit. And I become a sturdy stone to support both of them in this time, right? So as a couple months go by, stuff like that, both of them go through different ways of dealing with depression. My mom gets like super like cryy and needs like a shoulder to hug on, all the kind of stuff. My little brother goes down, he has to use drugs and stuff like that to get through the pain kind of thing, okay? At that point in time, my little brother goes to college, I go to university, and my mom stays at home with the big dog. Well, the getting bigger dog, okay? Now, my mom had broken her back before I was even born, okay? She's always had like physical problems, stuff like that with that. So here's where shit starts hitting the fan. My little brother starts doing more and more drugs and getting in with like drug cartels, becoming an enforcer for them because he's a jock. I go into a mode of like, okay, my mom wants to sell her house, I'm gonna fix it, stuff like that, but I'm doing my own thing in university. My mom's dealing with this massive, like getting massive dog, and one day this dog pulls her so hard that she falls on the concrete and breaks a bone. Like literally breaks a bone, okay? And she's like, I can't deal with this dog anymore, stuff like that. So she takes it to a shelter and like gives it to a shelter, but she doesn't tell me and she doesn't tell my little brother, okay? So this dog that was basically my little brother's last attachment to his dad just disappeared one day. And when they went to the shelter, stuff like that, nobody had adopted him within a certain time period, so the dog was put down. So that was the beginning of just a death spiral of all three of our relationships, stuff like that. So my little brother started to resent my mom, started getting all these ideas in his head because his brain started twisting from all the narcotics he was doing into that my dad hated you, I hate you, and just started putting all his depression into hatred towards my mother, stuff like that, fueled by this dog's death, stuff like that, where I'm trying to play the mediator in the middle, being like, hey, guys, we're a family, like, stop, kind of thing. But, like, I'm also off doing my own thing. Like, I've graduated university. I'm in the working world. Like, I'm over here. He's, like, coming home still after college, stuff like that. And it got to a point where I got a phone call one day that my little brother had assaulted my mom and robbed her in her own house, and she didn't feel like safe at home. And she called me, and I had to drive like 3.5 hours home to get to that house to stay with her the night so she could feel safe and sleep. So there was a lot of other stuff in between, but that was the point in my mind that was the point of no return. That if he did that to her, stuff like that, then there is no recovery from the situation. And that's the day that I stopped contact with my little brother, stuff like that. I helped my mom move out. She sold her house, stuff like that. She's living somewhere completely different than him now. She constantly tries to like contact him and like reestablish the family, but every single time that she does, he'll pretend to be better for a little bit, manipulate her, take more money from her, and then kick her to the curb kind of thing. So yeah, now that's the reason why me and my little brother don't really communicate anymore. It's kind of just like a whole bunch of like bad situations that have molded a person that I no longer want to be associated with. Because if you would assault your own mother out of hatred for money, stuff like that, to fuel your drug kind of lifestyle, it's not a lifestyle that I would support.
Damn.
Yeah, that's the story about me and my little brother. Now, there's a lot of good stories about me and my brother, and I have so many wonderful memories with him, stuff like that. So, like, he's off doing his own life, stuff like that, and he's enjoying his own life. Live and let live, but he's just not a part of my life anymore.
That's, I understand that.
Yeah.